Hi, my name's Lahana. Today is my second day at Whitman as a 10th grader. I'm really excited to be here. Before Whitman, I attended the Traveling School, a high school for girls ages 15 through 18 based in Bozeman, Montana. The school provides girls with an opportunity to experience education in a totally different way by traveling the world. It has different semesters, which each one lasting 15 weeks in Central America, South America, Southern Africa, Southeast Asia. They had one in New Zealand, and they might be trying to develop some other ones. In any case, on December 15th, I came back from my semester in Southern Africa. So with the traveling school, I covered South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, and Zambia. And the trip gave a tremendous interest in the origin of African conflict. I can't count the amount of times that throughout the trip I found myself asking the question, how did this come to be? How did such extremities in poverty and wealth come around? Why are there so many recognizable patterns that have led to civil wars and ethnic conflict in so many countries throughout Africa? And the answer kept pulling me back to what we were learning in history class. And Mr. Krohn has been kind enough to come let me present to you guys today on European colonialism. So the traveling school, as our global studies final grade, requires us to present anything about the trip. And I love history, and I really enjoy sharing it with people my age, just because it's such an important thing to have. Like, it's the youth's weapon, basically. If we've got history under our belts, and if we understand other cultures, that opens up a totally different world of possibilities. And that may sound incredibly cheesy, but it's my point of view that it's 100% true. In any case, before I start with European colonization in Africa, I want to point out really quickly, and this is sort of an obvious fact, but it's so oftentimes overlooked, that in pre-colonial Africa, 10,000 different states existed. So the colonialists weren't going into a continent of total darkness. There existed incredibly developed social hierarchies, systems of governance, trading routes. And the Europeans weren't the ones to come in and civilize the Africans, as they like to say in the history books or whatever. And also, kind of tied to that, is the fact that African history has been recorded in a somewhat different way. They pass it down through oral tradition, whereas European history, we all know, is passed down through written documents. And it's hard to say, which one has been more effective, but the matter of fact is that today we have available to us more documents on the European perspective of colonialism than we have that of the African perspective. And it's hard to have that inequality when we're trying to be accurate historians, but it's just important to point out that that difference did exist. And it also goes back to pre-colonial Africa. There isn't that much information out there, but great civilizations existed, and it's just always important to keep that in the back of our minds, as obvious as it may be. So because we don't have that much information on pre-colonial Africa, the continent of Africa has become this sort of kind of like romantic, undiscovered land that we'll never uncover completely, which I think is really interesting. But once again, just because we don't have that much information before the Europeans came, does not mean that marvelous things didn't exist. Okay, so with that said, let me start on the history of European colonization.